we're diving into a story that, honestly, just shouldn't happen in modern aviation. It's a wild tale about how a handful of seemingly small human mistakes almost led to an absolute catastrophe.
So, that's the big question, right? We're talking about a plane with 182 people on it, landing safely, thank goodness, but on the completely wrong strip of asphalt. And this isn't some old-timey plane, it's a modern Airbus A320, packed with technology. So how in the world does a highly trained crew, flying basically blind in the fog, get it so wrong?
All right, so let's set the scene. It's January 17th, 2025, and Pakistan International Airlines flight PK-150 is on what should be a totally normal flight from Saudi Arabia to Pakistan. But as they get close to their destination, the weather just tanks. We're talking dense fog, visibility down to almost nothing, forcing them to divert to their backup airport in Lahore.
Now, this wasn't going to be a regular landing. Because the fog was so thick, the crew was cleared for what's called a Category 3 approach. This is a super precise, almost fully automated procedure. The plane basically lands itself using radio signals from the ground. It's a system designed specifically to prevent this exact kind of mistake, which, makes what happens next all the more unbelievable.
The investigation quickly found that the first domino to fall in this whole chain of events was right there, inside the cockpit. It all kicked off with a really simple but incredibly critical mistake.
That's it. One single number typed in wrong with the spark that lit this fuse. The entire sophisticated automated landing system was about to be pointed at the completely wrong target.
And this just lays it out perfectly. Okay, so air traffic control told them to land on runway 36 right. That runway uses a landing system frequency of 109.9 megahertz. But the first officer, who was monitoring the systems, accidentally punched in the frequency for the other runway, 36 left, 109.7. I mean, it's a tiny difference, just 0.2, but to the plane's brain, it was a command to aim for a totally different piece of pavement.
You see, the flight management system is brilliant, but it can't read minds. It does exactly what it's told. And the problem here? It was told the wrong thing. So the plane started executing a flawless automated landing for the wrong runway.
Now, a mistake like this should have been caught, no question. Pilots have this whole system called crew resource management. It's all about teamwork, communication, constantly double-checking each other. But on this flight, that system just broke down. The pilot who was flying didn't catch the mistake. And what's really tough to hear is that the investigation later found that this first officer actually had a documented history of struggling in the simulator and had known issues with situational awareness. These were huge red flags that the airline just hadn't dealt with.
Okay, so even if the pilots mess up, you'd think there's another line of defense, right? Air traffic control. I mean, they've got radar. They can literally see the plane going off course. But in this case, the tower went quiet right when they needed to speak up.
Look at this timeline of the final few minutes. It's wild. At 0232, the tower gives them the all-clear for the correct runway, 36R. But less than 2 minutes later, a different controller on approach radar sees the plane drifting way off course and warns the tower. The tower then asks the crew, "Hey, can you see the runway yet?" They say, "Negative. They're still flying completely on instruments." And then, just 2 minutes after that, they touch down on the wrong runway. The controllers could see it happening, so why on earth didn't they stop it?
Well, the official report gives us the absolutely chilling answer. They were hesitant. They were afraid. Yeah, you heard that right. Afraid. But afraid of what?
This is where it goes from a simple mistake to a massive systemic failure. The controllers didn't want to order the plane to go around, abort the landing and circle back, because they were scared of getting in trouble with their bosses. A toxic culture had apparently developed where ordering a go-around could get you punished, maybe even lose your license. So instead of yelling stop, the controller just switched on the lights for the wrong runway, basically giving the pilot's mistake a green light.
This whole incident is just a textbook example of what safety experts call the Swiss cheese model. The idea is that you have all these layers of safety, like slices of cheese, but each slice has holes. And on this day, all the holes in every single layer lined up just perfectly, letting this disaster in the making slip right through. So the first hole, the pilot's training records, which were kind of vague and didn't really flag his weaknesses properly. Then you have that toxic culture of fear in the control tower. On top of that, get this, the tower was severely understaffed, which means tired, overworked controllers. And the final piece, the airport itself. The two runways had really similar approach paths, making it easier to get confused. Any one of these things on its own probably wouldn't have caused this, but all of them together, it was a recipe for disaster. Thankfully, this story does have a safe ending, but man, it was a massive wake-up call for everyone involved. The investigation laid out a really clear roadmap to plug these holes and make sure this never, ever happens again.
And I want you to let this number sink in for a second. 15 feet. When that A320 touched down on the wrong runway, its left wheel was just 15 feet from the edge of the pavement. A few feet more to the left, and it would have been a catastrophic crash in a grassy field. That was the margin for error, 15 feet between a scary story and a tragedy.
So at the end of the day, it was all about fixing the system. The big recommendations were pretty clear. First, completely overhaul pilot training. Make it more realistic and actually document when a pilot is struggling. Second, fix the air traffic control culture. Get rid of that fear and empower controllers to make the safe call. And finally, regulators need to step up their oversight on everything from airport design to how airlines are training their staff.
You know, this whole incident wasn't about one bad pilot or one bad controller. It was about a bunch of small cracks in a very big, complex system. The fact that all 182 people walked away okay is pretty incredible, but it's also a powerful reminder that safety isn't just something that happens by accident. It's actively built layer by layer through training and culture and oversight. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What other invisible safety nets are out there working perfectly right now, just keeping our world from falling apart?